Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Leslie Pierce. I'm the program manager for the 2016 Water Energy Grant Program. And first, I'd like to thank the State Board for helping us reserve this room. And I'd like to thank Abraham and Joaquin, who are in the AV booth, making sure all the technological aspects of this meeting run smoothly. If the viewers on the web could email us and let us know that you're watching, send us your name and agency, that would be helpful. And for people in the room, if we need to evacuate the building for any reason, please exit the room through the back doors, turn right and go down the hall, go down the stairs, and exit the building through the glass doors that you came in and meet across at the park. So the reason we're here today is to receive comments on the draft guidelines and proposal solicitation package for the 2016 Water Energy Grant Program, and to answer questions on how to apply for the funding. And for people on the web, you can email questions and comments during this broadcast to the email address you see on the screen. So first, I'll give you an overview of the 3 documents that are out for public comment. Then there will be a period to ask questions, and then we'll go into the comments. The goal of the 2016 Water Energy Grant Program solicitation is to fund commercial and institutional water efficiency programs and projects that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and also reduce water and energy use. We have $19 million available for this solicitation, and there's an additional $10 million in the governor's proposed budget, which if approved, we would roll into the 2016 solicitation. On April 11th, DWR and the Air Resources Board released 3 documents for public comment. The first is the guidelines and proposal solicitation package, which outlines the program requirements and explains how to apply for the grant funds. The second is the Air Resources Board greenhouse gas quantification methodology. And the third is the Air Resources Board greenhouse gas emission reduction calculator. The quantification methodology explains how the Air Resources Board is estimating greenhouse gas emission reductions, and the calculator is the tool that you use to estimate your project's greenhouse gas emission reductions. You must use the Air Resources Board quantification methodology and greenhouse gas emissions calculator for this solicitation. So I just want to emphasize that there are 3 documents that we are asking for your comments on. DWR is collecting comments on all 3 documents. If you have specific comments on the quantification methodology or the greenhouse gas emission calculator, please send them to ARB at the email address on the screen. After the comment period closes, DWR and ARB will compare the comments that both agencies received and make sure we have the complete picture before we finalize all 3 documents. So the first document is the guidelines and PSP. It explains that we can fund local agencies, joint powers of authority, and nonprofit organizations. We will award $3 million per proposal and no more than $6 million per applicant. And there is no cost share required for this solicitation. The guidelines and PSP describe the eligible projects. We're funding commercial and institutional water efficiency programs or projects that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, energy use, and water use. We are defining commercial entities as light industry or businesses that provide a product or service, including retail, restaurants, laundromats, food processing plants, and other consumer-oriented services. Institutional entities are water-using establishments dedicated to public service. Examples of those are hospitals, schools, higher education, jails, courthouses, things like that. We are choosing not to fund residential projects in this solicitation. The key for these projects are that energy use reduction must result directly from the reduction in water use. So to help clarify that, let me give you some examples of projects that do not meet this criteria. So if you're going to install low flow toilets and install LED lighting, that kind of project would not be eligible. Another project that wouldn't be eligible is remote water metering projects that use a decrease in vehicle miles traveled to get the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. That type of project is also not eligible. So once you decide if you're going to work in commercial or institutional or both types of facilities, you need to decide what kind of measure or device you're going to install. And the Air Resources Board Greenhouse Gas Emission Calculator will allow you to calculate the emission reductions for the 8 measures that you see listed on the screen. And the goal is to focus on hot water savings in these facilities. The draft guidelines and PSP also list eligibility requirements for urban water suppliers and agricultural water suppliers. And if your project will directly affect groundwater levels, then you must comply with groundwater management requirements and reporting requirements for CASGEM. The draft guidelines in PSP describes a program preference, and we've established a preference for projects that provide benefits to disadvantaged communities. We've also described tiebreakers. In the case of a tie, if all other things are equal between 2 proposals, then we will give preference to the proposal that includes a regional project that's in an IRWM plan or one that includes cost share. We describe the funding priorities for the program. They're the greenhouse gas emission reductions, water savings, the benefits to disadvantaged communities, and then whether your work plan, budget, schedule, and monitoring plan are sufficient, and that is determined by whether you get 9 out of 13 points. So you've used the calculator to estimate how much greenhouse gas emission reductions your project will achieve. And we will take those values and rank them from high to low for all the proposals that are submitted. And then look at them in groups. The high GHG emission reduction values will correspond to the upper third of the values. The medium GHG emission reductions will correspond to the middle third of the values. Or we may look for natural breaks or other methods. And then we'll do the same thing with the water savings. Then we'll enter those ranks into the ranking matrix you see on the screen, and we'll allocate funding for each priority class until all the proposals in that class have been funded or the funding is fully allotted. And then we'll move to the next rank. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the Air Resources Board greenhouse gas quantification methodology. In that document, the ARB describes how they're estimating GHG emission reductions, and they describe how you should use the greenhouse gas emission reduction calculator. Basically, it's a 2-step process. You decide what types of devices you're going to install, what types of measures, and then you input that information into the calculator to estimate the greenhouse gas emission reductions, energy savings, and water savings. And for all the values that you put into the calculator, you need to provide supporting documentation to explain why you chose those values. So this is just a screenshot of one of the tabs in the greenhouse gas emission reduction calculator. It's the commercial institutional dishwasher portion of the tool. All the yellow cells are areas where you can change the values. And really what I want you to do is I'm encouraging you to try the calculator out. If you're considering a project, put in your values and see what you get. Make sure that the directions that we've provided in the quantification methodology are clear, and then give us that type of feedback. And if you have feedback and comments on the calculator, again, please send it to the ARB at the GGRF program email website or email address. And then during the application period, ARB will answer questions through this email, and they will post frequently asked questions on the website that's shown on the screen. Okay, so now I'm going to move into the Disadvantaged Communities Program Preference. The definition of a disadvantaged community and the benefits to a disadvantaged community were defined by the Air Resources Board in their funding guidelines in December of 2015. So those were defined as, benefits were defined as that they must be direct, meaningful, and assured for the disadvantaged community, and the benefits must address an important community need. And in order to identify whether your project is working in a disadvantaged community, you need to use Cal EnviroScreen 2.0 tool. So those first three bullets, that's all set. We don't need to comment on that. We have to use these definitions in this tool. In the draft guidelines and proposal solicitation package, though, we recognize that we may get projects that improve facilities within and outside of disadvantaged communities, and we're recommending that in order to claim the disadvantaged community program preference, that 75% of the grant funds for your project go to facilities within the disadvantaged community. So this picture just shows you when you go into Cal EnviroScreen tool, what you will see. The orange areas are the disadvantaged communities. You can zoom in. This is zoomed in into Southern California. And in the upper left corner, you can enter addresses to see if your projects fall within the disadvantaged community. On page 22 of the draft guidelines and PSP, we've included this table to try and help you determine whether your project is providing a benefit to a disadvantaged community. So the table is broken into two sections. The top section, part A, is focused on where your project is located, and the bottom section focuses on the community need. The first question is whether your project is providing an incentive or a service to reduce energy to water users with a physical address in a disadvantaged community. The second question is, will your project improve or repair water infrastructure in a disadvantaged community? And the third and fourth question focus on job related or job assistance, job employment for disadvantaged community residents. You must answer yes to one of those four questions. And if you can answer yes to one of those four questions, then you move to part B and you provide us a written description of how your project and its benefit will address the important community need. And we recognize that the way the disadvantaged communities are defined and benefits are defined, we recognize that it may be difficult to get projects that meet this program preference. So we're going to be holding 2 more comment meetings next week. Again, public comments are due May 23rd. We will finalize the guidelines, the quantification methodology, and the greenhouse gas emission calculator soon after. We anticipate that the application period will be in July and August, and then we would make final awards in December. Okay, so if people on the web want to email questions to be answered during this broadcast, please send them to the email address on the screen. And right now we can take questions from the audience. Please say your name and the agency you're with before your question.
Jennifer Capitolo. I'm from Nossaman and I'm a grant writing consultant. I have a couple of questions. The first one is for disadvantaged communities, the state board has a pretty robust technical assistance program. Do you know if that state board technical assistance is going to assist disadvantaged communities for this solicitation at DWR?
No, it's not.
Okay. Um, and then my second question is if you could just walk through a couple of examples, because you walked through a couple ineligible examples, but if you could walk through a couple eligible examples. I'm just curious how this would roll out if a city was the applicant and they worked with, I think you gave the hospital as an example. Would they, how do they work together to be able to roll out this program? And then specifically, I work with a very small city that has been waiting for this solicitation to come out. And I don't think that they're going to be able to get a high enough dollar amount with just a dishwasher program or just a laundry facility. Could they take different pieces of that? Could you have one application that addresses those 8 different categories? Or is one application just have to be focused on one of those 8 eligible categories?
So the city could be the applicant and have partners that they want to work with. The partners could be the hospitals, or they could give out rebates to restaurants, laundromats. You can have multiple types of devices in multiple types of facilities that you want to install within one proposal. So you could do a variety of types of establishments.
I think most of the applications you'll receive then will be rebate programs for water districts or cities to work with businesses in their area. Or are there other examples of projects that you're hearing?
You could do direct installations if you were, so for example, one of the eligible applicants could be a higher education institution, like a college. They could decide that they want to upgrade all of their um, dorms and eating facilities, so they could come in as the applicant and then install measures directly.
Great, thank you.
Phoebe Seaton, well, that's loud. I'm with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. We're based in the San Joaquin Valley and Coachella Valley. We work with lower income communities, and we are, I guess, kind of question statement, disappointed to see that residential uses aren't going to be eligible this time, and kind of wondering how that decision happened. We're focused primarily on how a lot of these programs can help disadvantaged communities, especially those dealing with critical water needs, the reliability side, and the primary way to reach disadvantaged communities through a program like this is through um, doing upgrades at the residences and improving the efficiency of the water system that serves them. And so I wanted to clarify if water system upgrades will be eligible or not. So if you have a small community that can address water efficiency through upgrades to this program, if that would be eligible. But we would I guess, wondering to what extent it's open for reconsideration that residential uses as the best way to address, affordability and reliability can be part of this program. And then just the other question or comment is on I'm just trying to understand if you could give an example of the disadvantaged community criteria. We really appreciate that this really ties the investment to a community need, and to trying to um, kind of better understand how this program will actually, if it doesn't address residences, have an impact, have a meaningful and assured benefit to disadvantaged community residents.
So the first part of your question um, was focused on why we're not including residential projects. And we did include residential projects in the first round, and we felt in this round that there are a lot of programs available to provide rebates to residents. So we're proposing to focus on commercial and institutional because we felt that was there was more likely an unmet need in that sector. The second part of your question was focused on, I can't remember exactly it was water infrastructure, I think is what you were asking about. And the only devices or measures that are proposed to be funded in this round are these measures listed on the right-hand side of the screen. And then the last part of your question was tied to whether, how we would be benefiting disadvantaged community residents. And that's, we do have doubts that we will get commercial and institutional projects that really provide a direct benefit to disadvantaged community residents. That's why we're being upfront about that it's going to be difficult to make a direct tie. If you're making improvements in a suite of restaurants, is that really going to trickle down to the residents of that community?
In the very beginning, you said the amount of money available, it's 29 or 19?
It's $19 million now. There's $10 million in the governor's proposed budget.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Kimberly. I'm from the California Conservation Corps, the Energy Corps program. So we provide services for energy audits and direct installation for energy, but with the greenhouse gas funds, we're also having crews come on to do water audits as well. So my question is, with this program right here, are you for the applicants, do they have to go through that process of doing survey audits for the waters, like the water audits, in order to take advantage of this funds?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Leslie, we have 6 questions on the net.
I'll finish this last one.
My name is Caroline Manassian, and I'm with Water Energy Innovations, and we're a consulting firm that works with utilities. And I just wanted to clarify, I know you mentioned that the measures will be limited to what's on the right. So can we propose other measures that save hot water that aren't in the ARB calculator, or that's off the table?
No, I encourage you to submit those kinds of comments.
Okay.
How about anything else in the room? Okay, why don't we go to the web?
All right, the first one is from Kelly Hickler from Blythe and Associates, who asks, I'm watching the live broadcast and have a question. How long do awardees have to spend the funds?
2 years.
Next question, will the PowerPoint presentation be sent to viewers?
We will post it on our website.
And that was from Samantha Hansey from LADWP. And this is from Chelsea Haynes, and there's no affiliation. What are DWR/ARB's overarching goals and objectives for the solicitation? i.e., the grant prioritizes DACs, but what is the reasoning behind leaving out residential sector?
One more time.
So it says, what are the overarching goals and objectives for the solicitation? For example, the grant prioritizes DACs, but what is the reasoning behind leaving the residential sector out?
So our overarching goals are to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, reduce energy use, and save water, and provide benefits to disadvantaged communities. Residential projects were left out again, as I mentioned earlier, because we included those in the first round and we felt there was more of an untapped need in the commercial and institutional sector.
All right, the next question is from Warren Tates from the Metropolitan Water District. Are custom projects allowable for opportunities not on the list of devices? For instance, what about a program that addresses cooling towers or other commercial energy-intensive water uses? Breweries would be another example of high potential water energy savings.
The way the GHG emission calculator is designed currently, those types of projects would not, you wouldn't be able to calculate emission reductions, so they would not be eligible. So I encourage you to submit comments if there are other measures you would like us to consider.
Next question is from Diana Rivas from the City of Watsonville. The City of Watsonville Parks and Rec Department would like to apply. However, we would like to know if we are indeed eligible. Our project is as follows. Reduction of GHG emissions and energy use in water conservation. We will be updating our irrigation to eliminate wasted water. Our synthetic turf will eliminate sprinklers, which will reduce energy use, and overall project will reduce water usage. Not sure if our project is strong enough to compete. We would very much appreciate your feedback.
So I pulled up the slide again that lists the eligible applicants. It would be up to the city to determine if they meet one of the three eligible grant recipients. And the way the greenhouse gas emission calculator is currently designed, the measures on the right side of the screen are the only eligible devices. And if there are other types of measures you would like us to consider, please submit comments.
All right, the next question is along the same line. It's from Rebecca Franklin from the Association of California Water Agencies. Hi, I'm wondering why water system efficiency projects, such as leak detection and AMI, are not eligible for funding.
In this round, we're focusing on hot water savings. So that would be one reason why leak detection would not be eligible.
And then the last question, this is from Paul Boyer from Self-Help Enterprises. He asks, can DWR add points for water conservation projects in DACs that have co-benefit of reducing pumping from critically overdrafted groundwater basins?
We'll consider it. Okay, okay, question in the room?
Pam Loomis, also with Nossaman Grant Writing Consulting. And just following up on the question from Aqua about why AMI and leak detection aren't eligible. And you said not in this round. Are you anticipating another round where those might be eligible?
We don't know if we will get any additional funding beyond this year. So it's an unknown. Okay. Okay. If there are no more questions, then we will move into the comment section. So again, our comment period closes on May 23rd. You can submit comments to DWR on all three documents at the email address on the screen. Also, if you have specific comments on the GHG emission calculator and the quantification methodology, please send written comments to ARB at the GGRF program email address on the screen. And we're happy to take comments now in the room.
Phoebe Seaton again, Leadership Council. I'm probably going to just restate as a declaratory statement what I asked as a question. Would really like to see residential and small community systems eligible as a means of kind of securing affordable water, especially as more conservation measures go into place, especially in overdrafted areas. And what was the last? In lower income households, again, to address the affordability concerns with water loss. And so we'll make comments to that effect. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? No comments on the web? Okay. Well, thank you all very much.